Welcome, viewer, once again. Welcome to LTN Sports Dialogue. This program comes to you every other week, and when you sit here to discuss matters football, it's always never disappointing moment because here is where we give you every other thing, the reviews, the news, and everything, and people make the news in the world of football. And more so when I'm seated here with the LOC member Lordvic Aduda, you always know things will be right in terms of information. My name is Nick Okelo here, and I'll be hosting once again Lordvic Aduda, CEO. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
These days, you have another hat that is known as the LOC member. AFCON 2027.
Right.
Yeah, so we just want to delve very fast into what is happening right now in the country. We look at a lot of problems in the football managing body FKF. Right now, there are accusations flying from one end to the other. There is so much confusion. There are allegations. There are counter allegations, and a lot of things don't seem to be working right now. To add the icing on the cake, FIFA has given some kind of directives to be met by a certain period of time and must be met because this is very important to us as football lovers, and especially as Kenyans who are just waiting for AFCON in the next less than 1 year or so, and things are falling apart at the federation. Just what is it?
Well, thank you very much, Nick. I think in the past 1 week, we have seen a lot of allegations flying left, right, and center with regards to some procurement procedures that has the potential of, making life very difficult with respect to the smooth, anticipated, coordination and eventual hosting of AFCON 2027. We were treated to a whistleblower telling the country that supposedly a company that was not pre-qualified incorporated 2 months before the kickoff of last year's CHAN was paid some money to provide services in terms of procuring the general risk liability insurance. There are stories around it. I think so far investigations are ongoing. That led to a very drastic, action which was taken by 8 out of the 10 elected National Executive Committee members, together with the Deputy President, Mr. McDonald Mariga. Now, upon having taken the decision that they took, having passed the resolution to request the President, Hussein Mohammed, one of the co-opted National Executive Committee members, Abdallah Yusuf, and the acting General Secretary to step aside to give room for thorough investigations. They did communicate the same to FIFA, and in the foregoing, in their view and with the authority based on the FKF constitution, they did request McDonald Mariga, the Deputy President, to take over the responsibility of the President during the time that the investigations are ongoing. Now, that in itself, in my view, opens up a very big Pandora's box, because does it therefore mean that the President is working without approval from the National Executive Committee? If 8 out of the 10 members, or 9 out of the 14, so to speak, if you include the co-opted members in the National Executive Committee, are saying that they are not aware that there was a company that was, nominated or approved whatever you can mention without their consent, then that portends a very serious governance lapse at the highest administrative organ of the federation. Now, that portends also a possible chaotic relationship between Kenya and CAF. I am not sending fears across, but we cannot have a situation where 14 members of the National Executive Committee, who are equally members of the local organizing committee where I also sit, yeah, are not reading from the same script with the president of the federation, because that will hamper some of the decisions or some of the actions that we will be required to take at the LOC, which requires, you know, general approval of the resolutions by the leadership of FKF. So we need to stamp, you know, this kind of, you know, misunderstanding at the bud, so that it doesn't escalate, you know, to levels that probably would make it possible for FIFA to take drastic action against FKF and by extension the country, or CAF thinking otherwise, that probably the federation is not, you know, up to speed with respect to, you know, the organization of AFCON 2027.
Now, bring us up to terms with what happens. Now, if AFCON, rather CAF, gives cash for particular reasons, now let's say the insurance cash that came in for this, who are mandated signatories to that account? And this account, is it a joint account between CAF and the association, which is now the FKF, or it's a FKF account that is being overseen by CAF? What happens in between, and why does it have to be a problem at this particular time?
Well, for purposes of either AFCON or CHAN, there has to be a separate account, which is referred to as CHAN account, or in this case, it's going to be a CAF account, separate from the accounts being run or managed by FKF. Now, in this account, we are supposed to have a signatory from the federation, who is the president of FKF. We also have the chief finance officer of CAF, yes, as a signatory, and the host agreement requires that either the chairman or the CEO of the LOC becomes a signatory to that particular account. Now, according to the host, you know, agreement, such kind of an account also has directives such that any amount which is in excess of $200,000 can only be signed for by the president of the federation and the chief finance officer of CAF. So I believe that the case at hand, if we can establish that CAF also, you know, the chief executive officer, the chief finance officer of CAF also, you know, gave instructions for the money transfer, then there could be a little bit of need to also find out from CAF, you know, what they relied on, the information that they relied on, or the chief finance officer relied on, for him to have appended his signature, giving instructions so that that kind of money be paid to risk-well insurance brokers.
Now, that is where now the rubber meets the road. because Rexall, we are told, didn't even exist in the last 2 months prior to the AFCON Chan kickoff, and somehow it got this tender for insurance, and this one doesn't even meet the very basic Procurement Act requirements in this country. Now, should we be found culpable of any wrongdoing as purported by the NEC, what are the repercussions?
Well, I believe FIFA has already given directives, and I would like us to respect the directives that have been given out by FIFA. We need to hold our horses, yeah, and allow the investigative officers or agencies, to proceed with their job, as well as give the members of the National Executive Committee the opportunity to respond to the directives so issued by FIFA, which I think in the next 2 days we will be able to really find out exactly what the position is or was at the time. So let us not jump the gun. Let's hold our horses. Let's see how the investigative agencies. I am reliably informed that today in the morning, a team of members from the EACC have already gone to the FKF to, commence their investigations. We will rest it at that, wait for the outcome of their investigations. I am equally aware that the members of the National Executive Committee who, wrote to FIFA are also trying to put together the respective documents which were required by FIFA so that they can be able to meet the deadline in the next 2 days. After that, we will have an opportunity to exhaustively discuss what, would be the way forward, but which must be premised on both the FKF constitution in terms of conformity as well as the FIFA Code of Ethics.
Well, still on this very feud, and looking at the composition of the NEC members who passed this resolution against Hussein, who's the president of the federation. Now, we're looking at a situation where about 8 out of the 10 elected members ganged on this on one side, giving their resolution or declaration a supermajority kind of thumbs up. Does it therefore mean that Hussein Mohammed has lost the grip of the federation? Because if in terms of governance and administration, 8 out of 10 members of your very executive committee leaves you hanging, then it's a vote of no confidence. Where does this leave Hussein Mohammed, and how must he save face?
Well, as you rightly put it, 8 out of 10 basically means that
it's a resounding no confidence.
Yes, and 2, it makes it more precarious in terms of how we need to move forward, just in case that those members are unable, to supply the necessary documents and give good reason why they had to take the kind of decision that they took. But in terms of the governance at the federation, at the moment, we will have a very difficult time. Because, for instance, if things stand the way they are, it means, therefore, that Hussein, the president, does not or lacks quorum at the National Executive Committee meetings. So that portends, a very murky kind of administrative situation that needs to be arrested at the buds, as I did mention earlier.
Now, Mariga has been mandated to work as the president, but he doesn't seem to even be accessing the office right now. Where is he working from? And he's also been writing letters here and there, also giving statements here and there. And it's a Tower of Babel now that we really don't know what is what and who is who. What is the best way possible to now put this thing together? Because there's AFCON ahead here. And this again, I believe from your position, it might affect the quality of AFCON you're meant to give, It might affect the workings of the AFCON that is supposed to precede a successful tournament. It must just affect the entire fabric of the AFCON 2027.
Well, I think the Deputy President, McDonald Mariga, can no longer, as we speak now, continue to run the affairs of the Federation as had been anticipated from the resolutions those members arrived at last week. This is because yesterday one of the stakeholders went to the Sports Dispute Tribunal, who eventually, having perused the applications, did certify this matter as urgent, and they issued an injunctive order restraining Mariga and his colleagues, from effecting the resolutions of that meeting. That therefore means that as of today, Hussein Mohammed continues to render his services. The General Secretary, Dennis Gasheru, continues to render his services. And of course, the co-opted member, Abdullahi Yusuf, whenever called upon, will continue rendering his services to the Federation, until this matter now lying before the SDT is heard and determined. I think the parties have been given directives by the SDT to ensure that service is done to all the respondents by latest 29th. And they also, having received the service, they are supposed to respond immediately, and the court, the SDT, will give directions on the 4th of May. But from where I sit, I don't subscribe to what is happening. I believe that FKF as an institution has its own internal mechanisms to solve for resolution of matters. The Constitution gives the members of the Congress, who are the delegates comprising of both the branch officials as well as representatives from the clubs, an opportunity in such instances to be able to petition for an extraordinary General Assembly, simply put, a special General Assembly, so that all these matters should be placed before the General Assembly, which is the highest legislative organ of the Federation. I mean, the SGM, or the General Assembly, has the final authority over all this mess that is there, so that they can be able to make decisions also based on the provisions of the FKF Constitution.
Lastly, on the FKF matter, because so much is in court, we don't want to really delve into matters that are in court. FIFA has also given directives and is waiting for something to be done. Now, how does this one affect your work at the LOC?
Well, if it stayed, it was definitely going to affect our work and meetings, because we did not, have a situation where the president of the federation, who is equally the vice chairman of the LOC, being having
aside
yes, and the FKF Constitution is very clear that the legal representative of the federation is the president, not an acting president. So that would have really, made it a little bit difficult, especially if there were matters that required the legality of FKF, as the association given the responsibility to host AFCON on behalf of CAF. But the fact that we have an injunction already, gives us a little bit of a respite opportunity to be able for them to resolve all these matters within the shortest period of time.
Well, viewer, that's it. And it's such a murky situation of things at the Federation. And we hope that these matters are dispensed amicably and that we don't lose out on the bigger picture, which is the AFCON 2027. Ideally, this is one of our biggest footballing business, or rather encounter that we'll be having for the first time on this side of Africa. And indeed, anything that risks or jeopardizes this is supposed to be dealt with properly. We now shift again to other areas. The Kenya Referees Association, which I think whoever is responsible for the referees is Amwai at the Federation. They are threatening not to be officiating the remaining matches of FC Leopards, owing to what they say that it is the chairman's outburst against decisions that they make, and even alleged assault of some match officials. This is Ambani, the chairman of AFC Leopards. Also take about this. If they decide not to go for AFC games, what does that mean? What does that mean, rather? And if they just stick, if they stuck to their guns, that is what they're gonna do, how will the Premier League look like?
Well, I think they already gave their condition. They require express apology from the chairman of AFC Leopards, which I would take the opportunity to advise him to do so that we don't have a situation where the referees, do not honor matches or to officiate matches involving AFC Leopards, because that will bring not only disrepute to the Kenyan football, the Premier League, the brand, but also to the Kenyan football at large. So there are many serious, problems that seems to be, simmering in the federation. The more reason why we need to have, collective responsibility in terms of looking at, all the spheres with regards to the Premier League or the leagues in general, as well as, look at the refereeing department. We have the referees committee, I think headed by Caleb Amwai, and we also have the referees department headed by one Edward Lumbugu. They need to sit down and also look at, these outcries, not just from AFC. I believe even Gor Mahia last week we saw the chairman also raising. And there are other instances where we have also witnessed, very questionable, officiating in other matches in the past. So I would like to take the opportunity to also tell those responsible for the appointments and the trainings, and because we are at the tail end of the league, so every club is going out either to try and win their matches in the pitch so that they can emerge champions, or there are also clubs who are equally struggling, so that they can avoid the chop at the end of the season. So we need to be very, apt with what we do, especially with the refereeing department. But it is also not right, ethically, to do what is, in the open. The allegations that the match officials who officiated the derby on Sunday were assaulted. I mean, I would not encourage a situation where match officials also get assaulted, especially after following them right into their dressing room. That was not right.
That is very bad, and we also condemn that at LTN Sports. We condemn it in the very strongest words possible, because it is unsporting. It's not sportish when you go and look for a referee in the dressing room, accost them there, assault them. Maybe if that allegation is true, whatever it is that really doesn't work well and gives the better look of the game should be avoided at all costs. Now, we had a very successful derby, the 99th derby, Mashemeji derby, that went down last week. It actually lived up to its billing in terms of fun turnout, the game itself, everything went right, and Gor Mahia actually walked away with the 3 points and the bragging rights, which actually is what they look for very much in these derbies. What actually caught up with you in it, and what did you like about the derby in this respect? And looking at the 5 games remaining for both teams, AFC Leopards and Gor Mahia, who seems to be having an uphill task? Who seems to be set for the championship? I think when you wrap up that, we shall be completing the show.
Well, I think the derby need to take this opportunity to congratulate AFC Leopards for the organization.
It was perfect.
It was perfect. It doesn't matter what people think. I mean, I give due credit to something good. Yeah, it's well organized. Then with talking about the game itself, I think both teams gave their best. Gor on that particular day, in my view, took the field and they upped their game. And if it was not for Katasi,
the goalkeeper Katasi,
then probably the margin would have been bigger than what eventually, gave Gor the win. But I think in terms of fans and supporters, we need to have such kind of turnouts. But I will not also stop at this, in as much as I've praised AFC Leopards for their good organization, but we also saw very uncouth behavior from a section of their fans, who started throwing in missiles, especially towards the referee, which at some point culminated into, the police lobbing tear gas canisters amongst them just to try and, ensure that they are dispersed completely. That is not right. The match ended well. There were no skirmishes in the pitch. It was a wrong note to end the match the way I saw a section of AFC Leopards fans and supporters behave.
Now, 5 games remaining.
5 games remaining.
Gor Mahia, let me just take you up to speed. Gor Mahia has Kakamega Homeboys this weekend. They have Kenya Police, Murang'a Seal, Mara Sugar, and Nairobi United to complete the season. On the other hand, AFC Leopards are playing Ulinzi this weekend. They have Mara Sugar, Kakamega Homeboys, APS Bomet, and Bidco. From out of that list, who looks to be having a better ride, or who seems to be having a tricky one?
FC seems to be having a tricky one. Why do I say that? Because 3 out of the 5 teams they are remaining to play against are at the lowest end of the table. They will be playing out to try and avoid the chop. Gor Mahia's opponents are more or less middle table, or just behind number 4 or 5 thereabout, and they're already out of contention. If you look at the points tally,
they've survived.
They have survived the league, so they will go out there to play. Of course, everybody wants to win, we wish everybody well. Coming from LTN, we will not take sides, and may the best organized team at the tail end of the league carry the day.
Carry the day.
Yes.
No problem. It's been said by Lordvic Aduda himself, and he sees it as he sees it. He says playing teams at the bottom of the league right now is a very tricky affair, and we've seen that everywhere in the world of football. However, at LTN Sports we say, may the best team win the league, and deservedly so. Let the best team display what they know, and maybe at the end of it, or at the end of the league, we shall say that who so and so deserved it, so and so did not deserve it. This is LTN Sports Dialogue. I'm Nick Okello. I had the honor of hosting one that is very experienced in football and is LOC member Lordvic Aduda. When we call you again next week, perhaps just show up. I know your schedule is becoming tighter and tighter. More consultations, more meetings are coming up, and promise us one thing: we'll be having a better African Cup of Nations 2027. Absolutely. No worries, no problems again. Till we meet again next week, it's been LTN Dialogues.